going to be a 60-minute webinar. I will present the agenda to you. We are joined today by panelists. We are joined today by a very esteemed keynote speaker today. And we have also produced a lovely video that showcases the research topics that our new grantee partners of 2025 are going to undertake, which will explain what research will they be undertaking. And the variety of research projects that we are very proud to support this year as a part of the SVRI Research Grant. We unfortunately won't have much of a time for an active question and answer session since this is a webinar format and the participants, apart from the panelists, will be all muted. However, feel free to pop your question and answers in the chat box and we'll try our best to answer them if we can. And if we can't, please feel free to write to svri@svri.org to ask any questions to us, and we'll be more than happy to respond. And I see the PowerPoint is back again. Thank you very much. Could you please go to the next slide? I've already said everything on this slide. By the way of introductions, my name is Preeti Prabhughate, and I work with the SVRI as the Director of Grants Management and Impact. I'm based out of Mumbai, India. Could we go to the next slide, please? So in short, the agenda today is, as I mentioned earlier, we are joined today by a very esteemed speaker to deliver keynote speech on the importance of funding research. And she herself has supported a lot of SVRI research work. We will learn a little bit about SVRI and SVRI grants, which will be followed by a brilliant panel moderated by our very own Aisha Mago, where you will meet SVRI current and past grantees and learn from their experiences. And then you will meet our new 2025 grant winners in a video today. So that's the jam-packed agenda for the day. We would be very happy to even know who you are, where are you joining from, and a little bit more about you in the chat box. So please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat box. We're very interested to know who all and where all are you calling in to join us in our celebration. Next slide, please. So without much further ado, I would like to invite Ms. Lisa Mossberg to deliver her keynote speech today. Lisa is a political scientist by training with a Masters of European Affairs degree from Lund University. She has spent 25 years in the development cooperation. Lisa has worked with women's rights organizations in the Balkans with the Quina till Quina Foundation and has managed gender mainstreaming programs at UNDP in Albania. Lisa joined SIDA in 2006 and has held several posts, including Gender Advisor for Humanitarian Unit. She has also played the roles of Coordinator at Democracy and Human Rights Program Officer, Department Coordinator at Department for Europe and Latin America. Since 2018, she coordinates SIDA's implementation of the Swedish Strategy for Gender Equality and Women's and Girls' Rights. We're very happy to have you with us here, Lisa, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Preeti. Can you hear me all right here? Yes, thank you. It is a pleasure to be with you all today. And it's an honor to help announce the SVRI 2025 grant recipients. Representing SIDA, we are very happy partners of SVRI and the very important work you do. I would like to start with a reminder of why this work matters so deeply. Around the world, 1 in 3 women will experience physical or sexual violence in her lifetime. Every single day, 137 women are killed by a family member. These are not just numbers. These are lives, stories of pain, of survival, and far too often of silence. And in times of crisis, this form of violence doesn't pause, it escalates. Violence doesn't happen in isolation. Women and children who live in under-resourced communities, who face discrimination due to race, disability, sexual orientation, or who are displaced by conflict, are even more at risk. And at the heart of it all is gender inequality. Where inequality is high, violence is high. Where women are valued less, they are more likely to be harmed. Gender-based violence and gender inequality feed each other. When women are held back by fear, by harm, by lack of access to resources, inequality increases and violence prevails. And let's be clear, it is not just a women's issue, or men for that matter. It is a global development issue. Gender-based violence weakens communities, slows down economies, and limits futures. And yet, despite the scale of this crisis, we are all aware that there are huge funding gaps. The demand for development funding for work to end violence against women and children exceeds the supply of funding by far. And when it comes to funding for research and innovation, the resources are extremely scarce. That's a huge concern, because without evidence, we can't build real solutions. We can't know what works, and we can't protect people's safety. And we certainly can't change systems in a lasting way. And this reality is especially true in low and middle income countries, where the burden of violence is highest, but research capacity and funding are the lowest. Most resources nowadays still sit in high income countries, far away from where they are most urgently needed. And this is why the SVRI grant is so important. It puts resources directly into the hands of researchers based in low and middle income countries, people who know their communities best and who are best placed to lead meaningful change. These are small grants doing big things, connecting lived experiences and the fruits of hard work to understand and eliminate gender-based violence into evidence-based knowledge and effective methodologies. I have heard from grant partners of SVRI how being part of the SVRI community has transformed their research. They are building stronger feminist approaches, prioritizing ethics, and challenging the power imbalances that too often shape the field. Their work is already making a difference. In Lebanon and Turkey, grant partners have their research have exposed the violence experienced by Syrian refugee women of diverse sexualities and gender identities, and the huge barriers they face in accessing basic health care. And in Kazakhstan, a study showed how mobile health intervention can safely reduce intimate partner violence, and the findings were adopted into national services. Without this research, we wouldn't know these stories. We wouldn't see the risks women are taking just to seek support, and we wouldn't know how to respond. I would like to say that I'm very, very proud to be part of this work and to be contributing to it. We're not just funding studies, we're shifting power together. We are amplifying the voices of low and middle income country researchers. We're helping ensure that research drives real policies, real programs, and real change. This grant is led by the field, for the field, rooted in local priorities, shaped by those closest to the issues. And that is how we make sure research truly matters. I want to extend my warm congratulations to all the new grant partners. I can't wait to see how you will contribute or continue contributing to this important work for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lisa, for those inspiring words in this difficult situation coming from you. Really inspires SVRI and keeps our faith alive that we will continue with our mission. Thank you very much. SIDA has been one of our strongest partners of the SVRI grants. Could we have the next slide, please? So for those who may be new to SVRI or may know little about SVRI, I would like to speak 2 words about us. SVRI was fundamentally founded by a group of really passionate researchers and practitioners who saw that there was a really deep inequity in how research for violence against women and violence against children was conducted. They really saw the need to advocate for more and better resources and research for research on violence against women and violence against girls in low and middle income countries, and that the research needs to happen in these countries and needs to be led by researchers, practitioners in these countries and on priority topics that they identify as being the most relevant to their context. While globally, the amount of research in LMICs, low middle income countries, has increased, there still exists that inequity in the way research is funded, the research is conducted, and the asymmetry in how knowledge is being produced. At SVRI, we are committed deeply to address this inequity. Next slide, please. We are deeply committed to addressing these inequity in research and in knowledge production. The way we endeavor to achieve this is through what we call our strategic 4 key pillars on which SVRI's work is built. So for example, building is through provision of grants, the one that we are part of it all, but we also believe and work to strengthen capacity of researchers from low and middle income countries and promote partnerships and believe in influencing change, in particular trying to disrupt the way in which research is done in low middle income countries to ensure that resources get to priority issues that are of most relevance in these countries and are led by practitioners and researchers in these countries. Because without their lead on this, evidence generated through research will not make a true difference to the situation of women and girls on the ground. We also, every 2 years, hold the SVRI Forum, which is the largest gathering of researchers, practitioners, policymakers that work on violence against women and violence against children globally. And we're very happy to announce that our next SVRI Forum will be held in October 2026 in Bangkok, Thailand. So please make a note of this. More communication about this will follow as we come close to the date. But we really hope to see many of you in large numbers sharing, collaborating at the SVRI Forum, October 2026. Next slide, please. So what is this grant making all about? How did we reach where we reach right now? So SVRI began grant making around 11 to 12 years back, way back in 2013, 2014. We began with a very small support. We started small with support from a generous anonymous donor and SVRI. In about 2015, 2016 to 2020, 21, we managed to create a pool fund together with what was called as the World Bank Group Development Marketplace Awards. And with the 5 or 6 years period that the pool funded was in existence, we could make some amazing, some really innovative, groundbreaking research awards in that time. In 2021, we also launched the SVRI Research Grant, the Knowledge to Action to End Violence Against Women and Violence Against Children grant. Again, this is a pooled funding mechanism that has been generously supported by several donors, like our anonymous donor, SIDA, FCDO, through its What Works to Prevent Violence program, UN Women, and several other donors that have helped us along the way to ensure that we stay true to our mission of making research viable, making research possible in low middle income countries. Next slide, please. So how do our grants look overall? So as you can see, we are very committed to making research grants that are reaching across all regions in the group. You can see that we have around 36% of our grants based in Africa, 19% in Latin America and Caribbean, 15% in South Asia, and so on. I know that this distribution is not perfectly equal, but we are committed to ensure that the SVRI grants reach all of the regions globally, and we will continue to endeavor to increase these proportions in regions where the proportions are lower. Next slide, please. So since 2011, right until now, we have supported over 107 grants, which exceed a total of 10 million US dollars of funding across 56 countries. And we are very happy to announce the new cohort today of 2025. But before we do that, I'm sure everybody wants to know about what do we really look for in proposals. So here's a quick, really small slide. When we present our RFP, we give full guidelines, but we really look for proposals that are led by LMIC-based organizations, universities, or research institutions. We literally disqualify any high-income country primary applicant proposals we get, so they don't even get read by us. We're looking for researchers that are hoping to build on existing evidence, can demonstrate that they have looked at available evidence literature and have identified a gap in the literature or knowledge that their research will address. A useful tool for researchers to do that is looking at SVRI and partners that have developed several research agendas along the years through a very collaborative, participatory, and inclusive process. These are global and regional shared agendas, and there are certain topic-specific agendas. These are available on our websites, and I will share links to those in the chat very soon. We look for proposals that demonstrate ethical rigor, have clear, actionable research uptake plans. One tip that we would like to offer to everybody attending the webinar today is we receive huge volumes of grant, not because we're so great, but the resources for research are so scant. So we receive huge volume of proposals, but if you want your proposal to get noticed, one tip is to really write a succinct, concise, and a clear abstract, which should be like a small window into your actual research project. A really well-written abstract is a sure way of getting your proposal noticed and picked for the next level. Next slide, please. So without eating up much time, I would love to introduce you to my colleague, Aisha Mago, who's our Global Advocacy Director at the SVRI. Aisha, over to you.
Thank you so much, Preeti. And hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be here. I'm happy to be moderating this great panel today. This conversation that we have at each new launch with past and current grantee partners is always a really lovely part of the launch of the new cohort. It brings our community together. And today we have 4 of SVRI's wonderful grant partners, and I am going to quickly introduce them, and then we can jump right in. And just a quick request that we stop sharing the slides so that we can see our panelists. Amazing. So Shalini Joshi, please raise your hand when I say your name, is the Program Director, Asia Pacific Medan. Medan is a nonprofit dedicated to developing digital tools and community-driven programs that enhance the accessibility, reliability, and equitable distribution of information. And they are recipients of the 2023 SVRI grant. Shulpan Primbatova is the Adjunct Research Scientist and Deputy Regional Director at Columbia University's Global Health Research Center in Central Asia in Kazakhstan. She is a recipient of the SVRI Research Grant from 2022. And then in partnership, we have Carlos Bauche Madero. Carlos is the co-founder and director of Pro Sociedad Mexico, which is a development agency specializing in strengthening and sustaining organizations that want to positively impact the world. And Ana Arroyo is the gender and inclusion specialist at LabCo Mexico, who through collaborative and evidence-based methodologies try to develop transformative solutions to break cycles of violence and promote access to justice in Latin America. So Carlos and Ana are in partnership recipients of the SVRI 2024 grant. So hi to all of you, welcome. Really thrilled that you have all agreed to be here with us and share your insights. And I would like to just kick off on the first question to you, Shulpan. And can you please, and I'm going to ask each of you this question, but can you please talk to us about your specific research study and the significance of it in your context?
Thank you, Aisha, and good morning, good afternoon, good late evening for some of the participants. Our project was finished already, and we are happy to share that it was the first one in Kazakhstan to adopt and implement the WINKS intervention. It was developed by the professor of Columbia University, Louisa Gilbert, and it's a brief evidence-based intervention that aimed to reduce gender-based violence and improve access to services for women from key populations. We are working with women living with HIV, women using drugs, women involved in sex work, and transgender women. And before our study, there was no any data on GBV or services tailored to these groups in Kazakhstan. So we work in close collaboration with the harm reduction NGOs, community action boards, which we developed for the project to localize this WINKS model, and we were successfully integrated in the existing outreach programs, trained frontline service providers, and as Lisa mentioned, we developed the mobile WINKS intervention using AI, and we loved it. And our women from these groups, they loved it too. And because of this app, we could document the barriers and enabling factors for linking marginalized women in Kazakhstan to support services, and generated the first local actual evidence showing that how these intersecting challenges like stigma, violence, exclusion can be really addressed in the coordination way with all our stakeholders. So we may proudly say that our OMAI WINKS projects, it's not only like filled major evidence gaps in Kazakhstan, but also we could lay the foundation for systematic collaboration between civil society, research institutions, and the government crisis centers to better serve women who are previously were invisible actually in the system and the most marginalized, thanks to the project.
Amazing. Thank you, Shulpan. And over to you, please, Shalini. Can you tell us a little bit about your project?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Aisha, and thanks, Preeti. So at Midan, the research project that we worked on in 2023 focused on building evidence and research from the larger world on gender disinformation. And larger world is our preferred term for the global south. A lot of studies related to gender disinformation remain largely confined to the global north. And when we started looking at these studies, we found definitions and experiences coming from communities and countries in the global north. So our research, which was led in collaboration with partners from India and Pakistan, which included civil society organizations, fact-checking organizations, and women's rights organizations, looked at what makes the situation in South Asia unique. So we looked at how we can define gender disinformation from a South Asian perspective, focusing on India and Pakistan. We also looked at approaches to finding solutions to gender disinformation in regionally specific ways. And what our team did in the period that we worked on the research was that we came together to develop a working definition of gender disinformation. And this was based on our combined experience confronting gender disinformation and also looking at evidence. So we gathered online data sets related to gender disinformation, and that also informed our working definition of gender disinformation. What we were able to do through this process is that we produced in-depth country studies on use their own in-depth report. And then we have a collaborative report which we produced that talked about our definition of gender disinformation and some of the solutions that we have advocated for on this issue.
Great. Thanks so much, Shalini. And Carlos, over to you. Will you tell us a bit about the study, maybe on behalf of you and Anna?
Sure. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can clearly
Yes.
hear you.
Excellent. Well, first of all, nice to meet you, and thank you very much for the invitation. I'm Carlos from Pro Sociedad. We are a nonprofit organization based in Mexico, and we are working thanks to SVRI and LabCo, our partners, and other partners in the Mexican government. We are working on how to address violence in intimate partner relationships. And we are currently analyzing the design, the implementation, and this scalability of a particular model that has promising outcomes based on a non-punitive way to address men behaviors through cognitive flexibility, nonviolent conflict resolution, emotional regulation. And what it makes this research special, I will say, it has a potential to inform the evidence-based policy on gender-based violence in Mexico and perhaps Latin America and Latin American perspective. It is there are not too many interventions or programs that are non-punitive in Mexico, and this is also relevant because because there are not enough alternatives, and also because we have seen an alarming increase in male aggression towards women and a lot of polarization growing from some men towards some women, especially when they are feminist activism or others or in other ways. So we think that there's an urgent need to shift in this approach to address the root causes of violence, and so far we're doing this. So we'll talk about more about it later.
Okay, thank you, Carlos. And yeah, I mean, thank you all of you, because I find it's always so amazing getting a taste of how rich, diverse, such a range of different things that our grant partners are doing. And I really appreciate how each of you managed to sort of encapsulate in the 2 minutes that I gave you, which is just not fair. It's way too little time, but I really appreciate how you kind of brought that to life for us. So just moving on, and building on this, it would also be lovely to sort of get a flavor of how the SVRI grant has made a difference in your work, whether it's in your own individual career, within your organization, in the ecosystem, maybe in the policy landscape, depending on where you are with the grant. And Anna, can I ask you now to speak for the study? Yeah, and just maybe start us off on that one.
Yes, thank you, Yesha. Sure. In Green Model, we have obtained our first data. Thank you, SVRI support. As Carlos said, in Mexico, there are few models designing work with male aggressors, resulting in limited evidence of the effectiveness of such interventions. With CORE, we are working to build that evidence base. The initial results are promising. participants are beginning to abandon violent reactions in high-risk situations, learning to regulate their emotions, and recognizing early warning signs. So these changes are especially exciting for us because they demonstrate that the model we are developing has the potential to transform public policy in Mexico regarding how we can address violence against women. And I think Carlos has more details about this. So Carlos.
Please, Carlos, go ahead.
Yes, sure. We have seen so far, we have some preliminary data, and we have been doing some research with some scales on attitudes towards gender. We have seen a decrease in the percentage of men who has like non-valid attitudes against gender. We have seen an increase in cognitive flexibility. We have seen a decrease on the experiential avoidance. Men sometimes they have a tendency to avoid some feelings, and they usually use anger or other emotions, similar emotions, to avoid other feelings. We have seen also one of the main scales that are used in violence prevention against in partner violence is the conflict tactics scale. And we have seen so far a decrease of between 32% and 36% on the main outcomes of this conflict tactics scale, and also an increase on situational risk awareness. So we are currently optimistic. And in the qualitative focus groups, we have also seen the participants have at the beginning a little bit of resistance and skepticism, but then they consistently value the non-punitive nature of the intervention, and then they refer an emotional transformation, and also how this transformation changes also their relationships, not only against their partner, if they have an active partner, but also against other relationships, significant relations they have. So far, this is what we have seen. We are eager to see the final results after we finish the 8 groups implementation. And again, thank you very much for the support.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so I'm hearing that there's a lot of positive results coming out that you feel you will actually be able to sort of push things at different levels once or you hope that you will, of course. Shalini, what about you? What do you feel has been sort of the broader impact of the grant, perhaps?
Yeah. So at the beginning, when Lisa was talking about research that drives real programs and programs that are shaped by people who are close to the issue, I think this has been an important significance of the research that we did with SVRI support. So the partnership with SVRI provided us crucial foundation for conducting in-depth and also collaborative research. And this research has directly informed the design of new programs now. These are programs that are tailored to the needs that we uncovered as part of the project. We at Midan are now looking at tech-facilitated gender-based violence, TFGBV, and we feel that gender disinformation is a subset of TFGBV. And we're looking at this issue in other countries of the larger world, so in Sub-Saharan Africa and in Western Asia, where we are beginning to work with partners and take some of our learnings from this project to those regions and countries, and designing new programs. The partners that we worked with the support of SVRI, so there are two partners, one in India, Chambal Media, and the other in Pakistan, Digital Rights Foundation. They are also furthering their work on gender disinformation. And one of them is working on an online game that engages people to talk about gender disinformation. And the other organization is creating more evidence by looking at more instances of tech-facilitated gender-based violence in online spaces and creating data sets that can be used for further research and policy advocacy work. So we are still working closely with these organizations, and it's been a very rich learning process for all of us that we're taking forward in our own countries and regions.
That's really, really great to hear. And Shilpan, over to you with the same question.
Yeah, thank you, Aisha. The projects helped our team in Kazakhstan to expand our GBV portfolio, research portfolio, and be nationally recognized. And I'm happy to share that the project was presented at the SVRI Forum in Cape Town last year. And we contributed to the global conversation on inclusive interventions, especially in low resource settings like ours. Institutionally, it positioned our organization, the Center for Scientific and Practical Initiatives, as a leader in the community-driven GBV research, not only in Kazakhstan, but in our region, Central Asian region. And we have since trained our local NGOs, initiative groups, and women leaders on GBV response and helping build long-term capacity in Central Asia and Kazakhstan. And for the first time, we adopted their intervention weeks in Kazakhstan for transgender women. So their voices were heard, and we gave them not only a voice, but we brought them to the community action boards. And the whole adaptation process was with every stakeholder from each group of the women. And the policy-wise, our collaboration with this community action board, it really was very important. And it's really sparkled the discussion about the revising GBV-related policy to include these key populations in Kazakhstan. We were able to co-develop with our Community Action Advisory Board partners a service package for government-run crisis centers to serve and include women from key populations, from most marginalized populations, women who are HIV positive, in the services of government-run crisis centers, because previously they were excluded. And finally, our grant was able to leverage some additional funding from private donors. They saw the work we do, and they contributed, provide sponsorship to the community-run crisis centers in Kazakhstan, shelters to support women from key disadvantaged populations. Because of the visibility of our SVRI grant, because they liked the idea that SVRI is supporting, so they felt ownership and wanted to contribute to. So this is a great advantages. Thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you. And it's actually just incredible. I mean, I know all this, and, you know, I work with SVRI, of course, but it's always incredible to me when I hear all these different things coming together, the picture that highlights the sort of range of different impacts, depending on where people are in their studies and what they're doing. But it's really great. And thank you, really, all of you, for sharing that so clearly. And finally, this is just the last question, and a short one. But what advice would you all offer to others who are starting this journey? So what is the practical advice you would give to the new SVRI grant partners who are about to be announced? And this could be logistical, planning, implementation tips, something that you found useful. And because we are all about equitable, this time we will start with Shalini. Shalini, over to you. One minute each on this, please.
Yeah. And I also want to say that my colleague Sneha Alexander, who led this project as part of Midan, who's also joined the webinar today. Sneha and I have talked about this issue very often. You know, what is it that we can suggest to other groups working on similar projects? So one thing is that we worked as a coalition of a few organizations, and working in a collaborative manner also meant that you can build more ownership of the research. And that's really important. What Sneha suggested was that it's important to talk about research within the network and also to build more networks. That's been a very important learning for us, and something that we'd also recommend to other organizations. And then what again helped us a lot was that having a work plan and a detailed log frame is really important. And so while there can be changes along the way, just having that log frame helps in making those changes, and is a great tool to have. So do use a log frame for your research.
Excellent, excellent tips. I hope everybody's taking notes. I'm taking them. Shulpan, over to you. What is your tip?
Yeah, Shalini, wonderful suggestions. I would add, community engagement for the first day one, for the whole process. You not only build real trust, but you involve the communities in the decision making. Then don't be afraid to adapt and localize your methods, even if it's evidence-based intervention. It still needs some cultural calibration, adaptation to your communities. Yeah, be visible, bring everyone on the same plate, and not from my personal experience, but from the organizations in our cohort, I know that they delayed the beginning of the project because of IRB process. So try to start to apply for IRB, the ethics committee approval as soon as possible, and be visible. Share your successes, lessons learned on social media with other grantees and other potential grantees. Thank you very much.
Amazing, thank you. And last word before we end for today, Anna, to you.
Thank you. I think our advices are very similar, but yeah, I believe there are two key pieces of advice, both related to communication. The first one is to share the scope and progress of your projects within your community, with stakeholders, government, other organizations, and of course, on social media. For us, these actions allow us to connect with allies who are committed to reducing violence and strengthen the collective effort. And the second advice is to communicate with SVRI and share any information that you believe is relevant. In our case, we have kept them informed throughout each implementation phase, through reports, deliverables, informal updates, and they have responded with necessary support that has truly motivated to keep moving forward. In conclusion, share, and share. The more people and institutions you involve in your project, the stronger it will become. And thank you, and all the best wishes for your projects.
Amazing. Thank you. Those were all fantastic tips. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to the whole panel. I really appreciate it. This has been a great conversation. And Preeti, I know we only have 13 minutes left. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Aisha, and the brilliant, brilliant panel. I wish we could spend an hour listening to the panel instead. But let's not forget, why are we here today? Because we really are here to celebrate the 10 award winners today. So thank you very much, everybody, for sharing your pearls of wisdom. And it always gives me personally an ego kick listening to all of you, but it's really your work. Tiniko, can we share the video now, please?
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Dartnell, the Executive Director of the Sexual Violence Research Initiative, or the SVRI. As the largest global network of its kind, the SVRI is dedicated to strengthening evidence and driving change in low and middle-income countries. Our community of over 12,000 members is united by a shared commitment to ending violence against women and children through research, collaboration, and action. The SVRI and our community believe that evidence and research are powerful, essential tools for driving change. They help us understand what works, how to improve our services, and ultimately how to end violence. But here is one of the challenges. When it comes to global development and violence prevention research, most of the funding still goes to institutions based in high-income countries, and we do not think that this is okay. It limits the relevance, equity, and impact of the solutions being developed, particularly for communities in low and middle-income countries. So at the SVRI, we are unapologetically committed to changing that. And one of the ways that we do this is through our annual grant-making program, the SVRI Research Grant, Knowledge for Action to End Violence Against Women and Children. This grant is about shifting power and resources to where they're most needed, supporting innovative, high-quality research led by experts based in low and middle-income countries. Thanks to the generous support of our partners, the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency, SIDA, the Oak Foundation, the UK's Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office through the second Global What Works to Prevent Violence Against Women and Girls program, UN Women, and other supportive funders, we are able to fund research that is locally grounded, contextually relevant, and focused on real solutions that improve lives and reduce violence. After a highly competitive and very rigorous selection process, we are thrilled to announce the incredible research teams representing every global region who have been awarded a 2025 SVRI Research Grant.
My name is Carolina Piñeros Ospina. I am the Executive Director of Red Papás in Bogotá, Colombia. We are combining global knowledge with local experience to prevent online grooming and child sexual exploitation in Colombia. We are adapting a digital training tool called Dragon Shield, created in the UK, to the Colombian context. At the end of this process, we will have a fully adapted version of Dragon Shield in Spanish that will enhance the capacity of teachers, counselors, and law enforcement officers to prevent and respond to grooming. We also hope this serves as a model for other countries in the region facing similar digital safety challenges.
My name is Lidia Soldarriaga. I'm Director of Operations at Taulas and Dance, and I'm also the Director of the project. The main idea of our project is that we want to develop a chatbot, a simple, evidence-based tool for parents and caregivers to help them improve their parental mediation strategies for accompanying their children while they are online. What is really unique about our project is that we want to go beyond just simply giving information to parents. We want to give them simple, actionable strategies that they can apply so they can protect their children and adolescents online. Our tool promotes active parental mediation. Caregivers, and especially parents, have an important protective role in children's digital lives.
My name is Riham Khalid Abul Fadl. I am an Associate Professor of Pediatric Dentistry and Dental Public Health at Faculty of Dentistry, Ain Shams University. The aim of our research is to strengthen the university's commitment to creating and maintaining a safe environment for all students and staff members by proactively addressing all forms of violence, with emphasis on technology-facilitated violence. Tackling campus violence is high on the agenda of Egypt's universities. Despite that, research on different forms of violence at university campuses is still in its infancy, and the data on the magnitude and extent of the issue is quite limited. Our research aims to fill this gap. We will be able to identify future mechanisms that can be adopted to shift the norms which condone all forms of violence within and beyond the university, and to adapt the university's existing policies and measures to prevent violence perpetration on college campuses.
My name is Banandi Saga Mahara. The aim of this project is to initiate a peer-moderated safe space intervention to prevent and respond to gender-based violence, GBV, among university students at the University of Malawi. It will adapt and test a community-based model developed by UNESCO to assess its feasibility, acceptability, and potential for scale-up. The project is relevant because it bridges the gap between community-based interventions and institutional settings by adapting a proven model for preventing gender-based violence in the university environment, where young people, especially girls, are at risk. It is innovative in that it introduces and studies the effectiveness of peer-moderated safe spaces. The expected outcomes of the project include increased awareness and reporting of gender-based violence among university students, improved access to support services, and the creation of a safer and more inclusive campus environment. The project also aims to influence institutional policies by providing evidence on the effectiveness of peer-led interventions.
My name is Kuman Singh Rambari. I work at the University of Gävle in Sweden. Currently, I am an adjunct professor at the University of Technology Mauritius. Our study aims to understand the prevalence and prevention of sexual harassment in the tourism sector of Mauritius by employing a comprehensive mixed method approach. Currently, there is a lack of comprehensive and composite measures for sexual harassment, which is a devastating occupational hazard. This research will therefore provide data based on composite and comprehensive measures of sexual harassment for evidence-based policy and intervention, as well as opportunities for mobilizing different stakeholders towards practical and evidence-based policy and intervention in the tourism sector of Mauritius. An in-toolkit will be developed in order to raise awareness through information and communication for the general public in Mauritius.
Нордчгийн ариун тарай гэдэг би Монгол улсад үйл ажиллагаа явуулдаг сэтгэл эсрэг үндэсний төв төрийн босын олонхын захиргаар ажилладаг. Бидний судалгааны зорилго нь хүүхдүүдийн эсрэг үйлдэгдсэн нэгдлийн хүчирхийллийн урт хугацааны үр нөлөөг нотлох баримттай бүрдүүлж бүхэн сэргээх үйлчлэгээний шийдэг тогтолцоодыг судлан Монголд хамгийн тохиромжтой урт хугацаатай бүхэн сэргээх нийгэм шийдвэрлэх үйлчлэгээний дагаврыг боловсруулахад оршиж байна. Монгол улсын засгийн газар хүүхдийн эрхийг хангах, ялангуяа гендер суурьсан хүчирхийллээс урьдчилан сэргээдэг хариу арга хэмжээ авах тал дээр хангалтгүй ажиллаж байна. Мөн төрийн зүгээс зөвхөн гэмт хэрэгтнийг шийдэхэд анхаарч охирогчдыг дахин гэмтээр нөхцөлийг бүрдүүлж эцэстэн тэднийг хүчирхийллийн үр дагавартай дангаар нь үлдээж байна. Иймээс манай судалгаа нь Монгол улсад нөхөн сэргээх үйлчилгээний талаарх охирогчдын мэдлэг, эдгээр үйлчилгээний хүртээмж, олдоц, тогтвортой байдал, үр нөлөөнд шинжилгээ хийж судлах болно. Энэхүү төслөөр дамжуулан бид ёс зүйтэй, хүмүүнлэг, хүний эрхийг суурьсан охирогч төвтэй хамтдаа бүхэн сэргээх нийгэм сүүлэх үйлчилгээний тогтолцоог бүрдүүлэхэд хувь нэмрээ оруулах болно.
Hi, my name is Viwa Tafeni, and my pronouns are they, them, and theirs. I am a social worker in Cape Town, and I work for Triangle Project. Triangle Project is an LGBTQ+ rights organization, and the focus of our research is improving the IPV and SGBV services for lesbian, bisexual, and transgender women in the rural Western Cape. Our research is important because lesbian, bisexual, and transgender women are often excluded from mainstream services. This research project will fill a critical gap in how inclusive, community-based prevention services are developed and tested. Through this research, we aim to build on evidence for inclusive IPV and SGBV services in low-resource contexts. We hope that this research can shape policy and service delivery for lesbian, bisexual, and transgender women and children.
My name is Shamala Gomas. I am the Executive Director of the Center for Equality and Justice based in Colombo, Sri Lanka. Our research focuses on image-based sexual abuse of women and girls in Sri Lanka. Our research will be the first in Sri Lanka to study this issue by examining the girls' experiences of image-based sexual abuse. Sri Lankan society places great emphasis on girls' purity, and perceived sexual impropriety can lead to intense social shame and stigma. In this project, we will interview women and girls who are victim survivors of image-based abuse, and we will also conduct a large victim survivor survey about their barriers to accessing support. We will use this information to raise awareness of these victim survivors' needs via public awareness campaigns, targeted training materials, and workshops for health, education, and social care professionals, as well as police and lawyers to combat the stigma they suffer. We will also provide a Q&A website for survivors in the 3 local languages with the guidance and information they need to seek support, as many victim survivors are too afraid to speak out or tell anyone.
My name is Samuel Likibikoki. I'm a senior lecturer and researcher at Muhimbili University of Health and Allied Sciences. And for this project, we are partnering with Women in Law and Development Africa. Through our research, we'll develop and validate a standardized tool to measure technology-facilitated gender-based violence. Our research is important because it will provide means to universally measure technology-facilitated gender-based violence. To understand the true burden of this emerging form of violence among female students in higher learning institutions in Tanzania and beyond. Our project will help to advance the research field by providing a comprehensive tool that can be adapted across different contexts and populations. The findings of this research will also be used to inform policies in Tanzania and strengthen global advocacy efforts against technology-facilitated gender-based violence.
Hi, my name is Alexandra Lokshenko. I work at Plan International Ukraine as a researcher on a project that assesses how the escalation of the war has affected perceptions of gender-based violence within Ukrainian society.
Добрий день, мене звати Іван Данилюк, живу та мешкаю в столиці України, Києві. Через це дослідження наш університет прагне зробити внесок для підвищення усвідомлення негативних наслідків війни на зміну у сприйнятті та нормалізацію гендерно зумовленого насильства у сучасному українському суспільстві.
The escalation of the war has created a unique environment in which traditional social structures and norms have been disrupted. Studying gender-based violence in this context, alongside the individual vulnerability factors and psychological constructs that mediate the war-related experience, provides fresh insights into how war influences societal perceptions of violence. We will use the findings to raise awareness among the public and the international community about the issue of gender-based violence during wartime.
So congratulations, everybody. A major round of applause to our new grant winners, may I quickly request, but before I request that, I just have a quick announcement to make. I just got carried away. Is that please check the SVRI update and the SVRI website in the month of June for the forthcoming announcement of the new call for proposals for the SVRI Awards 2026.